Hi, I'm Kelly Kramer.
And I'm Scott Sipker. Welcome to the Neil Smith National Wildlife Refuge.
And our latest edition of Iowa Outdoors. Coming up on this episode of Iowa Outdoors, we'll saddle up for a different kind of camping experience.
Tread lightly to capture images of elusive owls.
Take to the skies of Northeast Iowa.
Watch as families work together to survive the Iowa wilderness.
And explore another trail in a minute. We'll have all that and more.
So sit tight, Iowa Outdoors is about to begin.
Funding for Iowa Outdoors is provided by the Claude P. Small, Catherine Small Cousins, and William Carl Cousins Fund at the Lincoln Way Community Foundation in Clinton County to support nature programming on Iowa Public Television.
And by the Alliant Energy Foundation. Many of Iowa's natural wonders you'll find on Iowa Public Television can be found in Iowa Outdoors Magazine, the Iowa DNR's premier resource for conservation, education, and recreation activities. Subscription information can be found online at iowadnr.gov.
For those looking for the road less traveled, Iowa offers an abundance of uncommon adventures.
Today, we'll head out to capture images of an animal Iowans often hear but rarely see, as well as learn the basics of how to survive in the Iowa wilderness.
But first, grab your saddle. We're going for a ride.
When you picture camping, what usually comes to mind? Probably a tent or camper, a campfire, and some family and friends. But for some Iowans, camping just wouldn't be the same if they didn't bring their horse along for the fun.
Between state and county parks, there are well over 24 locations to trot through the Iowa landscape, one of the most popular being Fayette County's Volga River State Recreation Area.
Many Iowans refer to the northeast corner of the state as Little Switzerland. The rugged beauty of hills and valleys, limestone river bluffs, and numerous creeks and rivers provide picturesque landscapes, reminiscent of the views in the Swiss Alps. Located right in the middle of it all is the Volga River State Recreation Area, and spanning 5,700 acres, it has something for everyone.
What I like is just the diversity. There's so much to do here, and whatever a person's interest is, they're going to find it here. I would bring fishing poles, I'd bring bicycles, I'd bring kayaks or canoes. Bring a boat if you like fishing as well. We have the Volga River that runs here. We have 7 miles of river for the kayaking and canoeing, or you can take them in the lake as well and paddle out there. A lot of roads for bicycling. Traffic is pretty conscientious, so it's pretty safe to ride bikes on the roadway, as well as you can take them on the trails as well. Some of the trails are going to be a little bit difficult because of the terrain, but some of them are pretty level and easy to ride as well. So I get people up here where we're at right now, up at the scenic overlook on the sledding hill, and I get a lot of people out here at night that look for stars because we don't have a lot of lights that flood the area, so they're able to look at stars and planets at night. So really, whatever your interests are, bird watching, we get a lot of that as well. Anything outdoor related, this is a great place to bring or to come and just bring whatever your passion is.
But as one of 9 of Iowa's state parks, preserves, forests, and recreation areas that provide an equestrian campground, Volga is especially popular among the equine crowd. The Albany Campground offers 34 equestrian campsites, complete with electric hookups and hitching posts.
With the equestrian riders, it's very well known for their equestrian trails in the campground. It's one of the few campgrounds that has electricity in the equestrian campground, which is a big draw. And then we added 7 hydrants in the campground as well, and so people are able to fill up the water tanks for the horses and for their campers as well.
Volga is one of my favorites because I like the water crossings. You know, they're not deep, but yet the horses can get a drink of water occasionally, and it's just beautiful, and the lots are nice and big here, and since they put in electricity, it's perfect.
As far as riding goes, most of Volga's trails are perfect for novice riders.
We have 22 miles of trails, and it's kind of split up into 6 different sections, and so you could ride different loops or different directions, or make big large loops and skip some of the connecting routes in between, so you could spend days just exploring trails and different aspects of it.
You can ride it any direction you want to. There's some that you're out in the sun, and then there's others that you're under the trees and it's nice and cool.
The trails here are really easy. There are some tougher ones, but you don't have to go on those. But it'd give you a good try out on it.
Perfect. We get a splash somebody stand right in the edge of the water.
It's not rough riding, but depending on which trail you take, some are a little more trying than the other ones, because a lot of horses don't like water. They don't want to go across that little river down there. They're like, oh my gosh, my feet are getting wet, no. But then there's other trails where you don't have to worry about the water. You can cross over bridges. I mean, it's a good experience, especially for new horses. That's why I like to bring new horses, because they're exposed to a lot of things: traffic, dogs, people, noises.
Given that all the trails at Volga are multi-use, it's important to know appropriate trail etiquette. If you're hiking and biking, Jeff recommends yielding toward the horse and to make your presence known to avoid spooking them.
Generally, just yield towards horses and just let the rider know that you're there so that the horse doesn't spook. And just, if you're on a bicycle, probably just pull off to the side too so that you don't spook them with the movement. And that's really the only concerns, I guess, with the horses.
Or, if you're riding a horse and come across a fellow equestrian, simply treat the trail as a road.
Just like when you're driving a car, you pass on the right, or, you're on the right, they're on their right. Or if you're in a larger group, whoever's the larger group goes ahead. If it's a narrow trail, they kind of stop, get out of the way so everybody else can go.
Spending time outdoors, regardless of the activity you're participating in, can evoke serenity. But amongst the equine crowd, some common themes arise.
Yeah, we love trail riding here in Iowa. Come on, Pete. Let the rest of it in.
To me, it's just relaxing, just to get away from everybody and ride out in the timber. And I mean, not that I don't want to be around people. It's so nice just to get out with Mother Nature and my horse, and I don't have to worry about anything but my horse.
It's very relaxing. Plus, I like spending time with my friends and horses. It's just a good combination. It's just building relationships with our friends. It just keeps growing, and we end up having a lot of memories to share.
Well, you've got good comradeship when you're riding with your friends. You get to visit a lot. But my horse and I, we go out a lot together, just the two of us. And I have a Kindle. I listen to books as I ride, and it's just calm and relaxing.
Let's see, I've been riding this probably almost 40 years already. So it's just this is part of home for me. I hunt off horses and mules out in Wyoming. We ride the mountains, and this is just a way to, good activity up here.
If it's a stressful day, you go home to a horse and they're just calm, and they just make you just decompress and get rid of your stress.
My shirt says, I think this is the one. Horses aren't my whole life, they make my life whole. I'm on a horse all the time.
If all this sounds like something you want to experience, here are a few final takeaways before grabbing your saddle.
Give it a try, but definitely don't go by yourself the first time. Always have someone with you until you feel comfortable with your horse and seeing how he or she is going to handle the situation.
We love coming up here because it's just so easy. You never meet a stranger. Horse people are completely different. I don't know why, but they are. They're always willing to give a helpful hand, and somebody has a rank horse or something, they fall off, you wouldn't believe the people that swarm you to help you.
My job is so easy here because the area is so awesome that if we can do our part and keep it maintained, the place sells itself. So it's just a great place.
Patience and quiet are two of the most respected traits when it comes to the outdoors. And while silence can enhance fishing or hiking, those activities have nothing on the calmness required to photograph owls.
Wildlife photography is a challenge by itself, but owls are an entirely different endeavor. For Justin Rogers, keeping quiet is no problem when the reward is the perfect owl snapshot. Tucked under the treetops of Ledges State Park in central Iowa rests a photographic adventure for one Midwesterner. Justin Rogers often marches into the Iowa outdoors fulfilling a passion of not only photography, but in search of a very specific creature.
Especially looking through that lens and kind of locking eyes and having it look right back at me. And I think that was the moment where I was really hooked on, specifically on owls, just the uniqueness of their eyes, the way that they look.
On a warm late spring day, Rogers has zeroed in on a young owlet as it begins to stretch its wings for the first time.
We are kind of hunkered down here monitoring a barred owl nest, and inside we have seen at least one poking its head out. It's very near the time where they will fledge from the nest, which means they will take their first flight. There's been known to be two in this nest, so that one may already be out. And one of the adults is kind of monitoring from the distance as well. So we're here behind some cover, trying not to disturb them, and we've gotten some snapshots of it testing out its wings.
The young barred owl is just part of Rogers' photographic quest across Iowa. It's his self-imposed hunt for every type of owl that inhabits or frequents the Iowa countryside.
I've kind of been on a mission to try and photograph all of the owls that are located here in Iowa. The Iowa DNR says that there are 9 different species of owls that reside either part or full-time here in the state, and I have now photographed 8 of those species, with only the burrowing owl remaining that I have not yet photographed here. So every owl, they kind of have a different color of eyes and size. The great horned owl, I think, are the most unique because they're bright yellow. Barred owls and some of the other owls, they just have kind of a dark tone to them, and you can't, it's just kind of like a hollow cavity. But when you lock eyes with the great horned owl, they're almost like a cat, where they have like a vertical sliver to them and the bright yellow appearance. And just when you lock eyes with them and it's like a staring contest, it's kind of neat just to have that moment.
On a recent trip to Neal Smith Wildlife Refuge, Rogers kept distant watch on a great horned owl nest, careful not to disturb wildlife.
Kind of following the rules of birding in general, making sure to maintain respectable distances. If you see the owl getting nervous, agitated, anything like that, you know, you're too close. I find a lot of the wildlife in city limits, actually, and I can't take all the credit. Oftentimes friends will give me a tip to a location where there may be an owl roosting. Oftentimes, the only way I see owls, unfortunately, when I'm walking through the woods is when they're flying away from me. They're very silent. When they fly, they don't make any noise at all. So if you're in an area where there are owls present, sometimes you may walk right by them and not even notice.
Rogers' quest to capture all 9 Iowa owls included the elusive snowy owl, a cold weather bird known to pass through sections of the state during migration season. Lucky for Rogers, he found a reoccurring pit stop.
There is a location in northern Iowa where the last 3 years a snowy owl has sat on the same exact fence post. 3 years ago, a guy took a photo. 2 years ago, I visited that same spot and posted that photo online, and he said, "You're not going to believe this," and he showed me the photo he took the year prior, same exact fence post. And then this last year, someone else photographed a snowy owl there as well.
Owls are only a segment of Rogers' Iowa wildlife portfolio, filled with ducks, deer, raccoons, and the youthful activity outside of fox dens. But Rogers' multi-year quest was still missing one subject when we followed him across central Iowa. The burrowing owl, known for occupying other creatures' ground-based dens, had been increasingly difficult to spot. Just hours later, he received a tip from north-central Iowa. The burrowing owl had taken up temporary home in a nearby cornfield. Rogers' photographic quest was complete. All 9 Iowa owls caught by his camera lens, and just a taste of the intriguing wildlife found in the Iowa outdoors.
If it might be, coming into a branch to land at that moment where its talons are sticking out almost right before the moment of impact, it's neat to see just how big those talons actually are.
Iowa is home to some spectacular views, and seeing them in person is a big part of the enjoyment. Still, try as you might, some perspectives are impossible to reach. That is, unless you take a look from above. So keep your hands and feet inside the viewing area as we look at Iowa by air. One of the most photograph-friendly locations in the Iowa State Park System is the overlook perches in Pikes Peak State Park. Situated 500 feet above the Mississippi River banks, each overlook offers an excellent vantage point of the main river channel used by commercial barges, as well as a few dozen of the slough islands scattered up and down the river. While the Mississippi more than earns its mighty reputation, a close look at a slough tells the tale of how shallow the river can be. With thousands of islands and countless trees, these marshy pieces of land provide habitat for millions of birds that migrate up the river annually. The Pikes Peak overlooks unparalleled views of Iowa's most famous river. That is, unless you take a look at Iowa by air.
No one wants to consider it, but should any outdoor adventure turn sour, you might find yourself in a survival situation. In order to stave off these scenarios, learning to respect nature's dangerous potential is imperative.
Like many outdoor organizations, Johnson County Conservation understands this issue and wants to prepare its community. So each spring, before most of us head outside, it hosts an annual Survival Day Camp to share the seriousness of the outdoors.
All right, one of the things that I like to practice, instead of just taking things, I like to make sure that I give something back. And so we wouldn't want to take all of these cattails and not leave any seeds. So I think that before we can harvest some, I'm going to give each of you a puff of cattail. And here's the thing, you need to spread yourselves out so that when you blow on these seeds, you don't blow them right into your brother or sister's face, because that wouldn't be very fun.
In Johnson County, outdoor survival is a family affair. These grade schoolers and their guardians are learning hands-on the basics of protecting themselves from the elements. A serious topic, but still it's impossible not to have fun on a warm March day when spring is just starting to show.
All right, so if you all look over to your right, we've got some flashes of blue going through the trees right now, and those are our first bluebirds coming back for the season.
Starting indoors, naturalist Christian Morrow gave attendees a brief crash course in material gathering, fort building, and fire starting, a few strategically chosen activities meant to build the foundation of an interest in the outdoors.
So we've got our third annual Forts and Fires event. Right now we've got a ton of families out just having a good afternoon building forts and trying to build a fire with flint and steel. So just a program that's designed to introduce students to that rite of passage activity of building a fort in the woods.
But before the first flint strike or the first tree limb is gathered, Kristen shared a few helpful tips on how to build a fort made out of found materials and the natural items that work best when starting a fire.
They do learn some of the fire building basics. We go through good sources of tinder and kindling here in Iowa. They also get to know a little bit of the plants that are around them that could be useful. They also learn some of the safety things with fire building. But a big part of it is also that teamwork and communication.
There we go, so don't choke it.
But our goal is also just that fun experience too. So if they learn 3 things today, but overall they have an amazing time, that's really what my goal is.
And with a quick look at the kids, that goal is definitely being met.
Getting closer though, look.
Besides the horde of new outdoor fans, Kristen is joined by Hai Huyn, a volunteer who previously participated with her family, and even though they weren't available to join the fun this year, Hai couldn't pass up the opportunity.
I love to be outdoors.
Kristen had this event last year, and we, as a family, we signed up for it. And we had so much fun. We learned so much. So I said, Kristen, can I tag along and, just kind of be the observer and maybe the helper when you need to? And she agreed, so that's why I'm here.
Having built a fort and started a fire, I know firsthand the gateway this event is for children. With so many activities and modern parental concerns keeping kids inside, forts and fires both opens children's minds and puts adults at ease.
Now in our society, outdoors is becoming some sort of like a scary thing. You don't see kids just sort of go out there and play wild and climb tree and go in the mud, and there's always adult supervision. And a program like this is great because it's not only introduce family to the outdoors, but it's teach kids and parents to be more comfortable in the outdoors, and with some of the skill that hopefully we offer today through this program, give them a little bit more confidence, when they go outside. There's nothing scary outside. And also teach them how to improvise, have fun. The sky is the limit when you're outdoors.
While the kids are having the time of their lives, that is likely nothing compared to the parents and guardians. According to Kristen, that is all by design.
That's actually something that Johnston County does a lot. So we want to focus on the families because we don't want this to be a one-time experience. If they come with field trip groups, that's still great, but their parents are less likely to see how much the kids loved it, and they're less likely to repeat those experiences in the future. So we've got so many different family events so that the parents can see how fun it is to catch frogs or to catch fireflies or to go on a hike with their kids and see the joy in them running around. 3
years in, Forts and Fires is an unquestionable success. No, not every fort would be a perfect shelter from an Iowa winter, and not everyone got a roaring flame out of their flint and steel. But at the end of the day, everyone will go home with an afternoon they won't soon forget.
It never fails. The kids always leave, whether they're in this family program or with a field trip. They are gushing with excitement. They feel like they've accomplished something. They have that sense of satisfaction from building a successful fire, having an awesome structure. So I just like to see that joy and hopefully feel like those kids are going to be addicted to the woods and addicted to going out and exploring more.
It's time for IPTV's Trail in a Minute, where we show you a first-person view of a different Iowa hiking, biking, or water trail each episode. It's a great way to relive a previous experience or plan a future adventure, and it's a pretty cool way to view the Iowa outdoors. Take a look. Any visit to Wildcat Den State Park wouldn't be complete without a stop at the Pine Grist Mill. So let's get that out of the way as one of Iowa's best trails beckons. Wildcat Den Trail has something for everybody. First off, it's a roller coaster of rises and falls, so pace yourself. Second, it starts with a trip through wildflowers and a lush forest, and that's not even scratching the surface. Passing over the first guardrail bridge, you reach a major fork in the road. You can't go wrong either way, but we'll go right as we prefer the other side for the loop back. Wildcat Den is full of side trails, with some taking you right to the lip of Pine Creek. And unless you're in a rush to feel the rocks, there's no need for up-close bluff encounters. The main path provides plenty, we guarantee. At nearly the halfway point in the 4-mile loop, you'll discover Fat Man Squeeze. While not having the most friendly name, the Bluff Pass is one of the park's most famous features. If you've been keeping track, we've gone well past a minute at this point, so instead of giving away the rest of Wildcat's secrets, we'll save them for your adventure, a hike that is certain to take far more than a minute. wraps up this episode of Iowa Outdoors. We encourage you to get outside and enjoy Iowa's parks and recreational opportunities. If you're planning any outdoors travel, check out our extensive video archive at iptv.org/Iowa Outdoors.
While our episodes will continue to bring you outdoor adventures over the Iowa airwaves, feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for extended features and extra content. And tag Iowa Outdoors in your online posts. Who knows, you might make it onto the show. For now, we'll leave you with more images of Iowa's outdoor environments.
Funding for Iowa Outdoors is provided by the Claude P. Small, Catherine Small Cousins, and William Carl Cousins Fund at the Lincoln Way Community Foundation in Clinton County to support nature programming on Iowa Public Television.
And by the Alliant Energy Foundation. Many of Iowa's natural wonders you'll find on Iowa Public Television can be found in Iowa Outdoors Magazine, the Iowa DNR's premier resource for conservation, education, and recreation activities. Subscription information can be found online at iowadnr.gov.